From a shovel-swinging knight to a deck-building sensation, indie games have been stealing the spotlight at the Game Awards for over a decade. These aren't just side projects anymore. They're the heart and soul of modern gaming. Today, we're going year by year through every single winner of Best Independent Game. No skipping, no filler, just the absolute best, from the very first award in 2014 all the way to the latest champion in 2024. We'll start with the early days, where pixel art nostalgia ruled the stage, and work our way up to the modern indies that rival full-blown blockbusters. Stick around, because by the end, you'll see just how far indie gaming has come, and maybe even guess where it's headed next. 2014, Shovel Knight. We kick things off with Shovel Knight, the very first winner of Best Independent Game back in 2014. A retro throwback that proved pixel art could still make history, this gem took everything people loved about classic NES platformers and cranked it up with modern polish. Developed by the small but mighty Yacht Club Games, Shovel Knight was a Kickstarter success story done right, delivering tight controls, creative levels, and a massive dose of charm. It wasn't just nostalgia bait. It was proof that indie developers could go toe-to-toe with the big names while staying true to their vision. More than just a fun adventure, Shovel Knight cemented the modern indie boom. Its success opened the doors for countless other projects to step into the spotlight, and it showed players were hungry for fresh ideas that didn't need a AAA budget. But while Shovel Knight celebrated the past, the very next year an indie would completely redefine the future of online multiplayer. 2015, Rocket League. The very next year, indie gaming went from pixel nostalgia to pure chaos on wheels. Rocket League burst onto the scene in 2015 asking one simple question: what if soccer, but with rocket-powered cars? And the internet went wild. Developed by Psyonix, this game exploded overnight thanks to its addictive pick-up-and-play mechanics and unbelievable highlight moments. It wasn't long before it became an esports sensation, with tournaments, massive prize pools, and cross-platform play keeping the hype alive. But here's the debate. Was Rocket League still really an indie after it blew up worldwide? Some fans argued it outgrew the title, but at the time it was still very much an independent project that changed the industry forever. And while Rocket League thrived on non-stop chaos, the next year's winner did the exact opposite, pulling us into a world of eerie silence and haunting atmosphere. 2016, Inside. After the chaos of rocket cars, 2016 slowed everything down and turned the volume almost to zero. Inside by Play Dead proved that sometimes less is more. Minimalist visuals, but maximum atmosphere. As the spiritual successor to Limbo, Inside pushed the boundaries of wordless storytelling. Every step, every puzzle, every haunting backdrop told a story without a single line of dialogue. Players were left unsettled, curious, and constantly second-guessing what it all meant. The game's chilling finale became one of the most talked-about endings in indie history, and it set a new standard for how far indie games could go in narrative design. But just when players thought dark and moody was the formula, the very next winner flipped the script, swapping shadows for stunning, hand-drawn animation straight out of the 1930s. 2017, Cuphead. In 2017, the indie spotlight landed on a game that looked like a 1930s cartoon, but played like pure punishment. Cuphead by Studio MDHR blended old-school animation with controller-breaking difficulty, and gamers couldn't get enough. Hand-drawn frame by frame, backed by a roaring jazz soundtrack, Cuphead wasn't just a game, it was a work of art. But that beauty came at a cost. The game faced years of development struggles, with the small team even remortgaging homes to see it through. The result? One of the most visually striking and memorable indies of all time. Of course, not everyone loved its brutal boss fights. Some praised the challenge as a return to old-school difficulty, while others felt it was too punishing for its own good. Either way, Cuphead left a lasting mark, proving indies could stand out on sheer style alone. But the very next winner went in the opposite direction, dialing back the punishment and doubling down on raw heart and emotion. 2018, Celeste. 2018 gave us Celeste, a mountain climbing adventure that was really about something much deeper. On the surface, it was a precision platformer with some of the tightest controls in the genre. But underneath, it told a story about anxiety, self-doubt, and pushing through personal struggles. Developed by Extremely OK Games, Celeste struck a balance between frustration and triumph. Every death felt like a lesson, and every checkpoint felt like a personal victory. The game quickly became a favorite of the speedrunning community, with players finding new ways to break records on its challenging stages. Beyond its gameplay, Celeste stood out for how it treated mental health with care and honesty. It wasn't just a platformer, it was an emotional journey that resonated with thousands of players around the world. No wonder it's still remembered as one of the most beloved indie titles ever. But while Celeste climbed a mountain of emotions, the very next winner wasn't just a game, it was a full-blown political statement. 2019, Disco Elysium. In 2019, indie games proved that you don't need swords or guns to create a gripping RPG. Disco Elysium by ZAUM flipped the genre on its head. Here, words mattered more than weapons, and every choice shaped your detective story. With deep writing, complex branching dialogue, and a world dripping with personality, the game offered one of the most immersive role-playing experiences in years. Every case, every conversation, and every decision felt weighty, challenging players to think and feel like never before. Of course, Disco Elysium wasn't without controversy. Its political undertones sparked debate, and the studio itself faced drama after release. But fans couldn't deny the impact. It was a game that showed indies could rival AAA storytelling and world-building. And while Disco Elysium explored the streets and minds of its city, the very next indie hit plunged players into the underworld itself, full of gods, monsters, and a roguelike twist that kept you dying and coming back for more. 2020, Hades. 2020 brought us Hades, the roguelike that somehow made dying feel not just okay, but exhilarating. Developed by Supergiant Games, this title combined fluid, fast-paced combat with a story deeply rooted in Greek mythology. Every run through the underworld revealed new dialogue, character moments, and evolving relationships with gods, monsters, and even the shades of your past. The game's storytelling was just as addictive as its combat loop, making each failure feel like progress rather than punishment. Critics and fans alike hailed Hades as one of the greatest indie games of all time, blending gameplay, narrative, and style into a perfect package. It wasn't just a game, it was a masterclass in how indie studios can innovate and captivate. And while Hades had the soul of an indie, the very next winner looked like it had stepped straight out of a AAA showcase, polished, cinematic, and breathtaking in every frame. 2021, Kena, Bridge of Spirits. In 2021, indie gaming reached cinematic heights with Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Developed by Ember Lab, this game looked like a Pixar movie come to life. Lush visuals, heartwarming characters, and breathtaking environments. But it wasn't just a visual feast. Kena combined emotional storytelling with tight combat mechanics and exploration, creating an experience that felt big, bold, and unforgettable. Players were charmed by the little rot companions and captivated by the journey of healing spirits in a magical world. Some critics debated whether Kena was too polished to truly count as indie, given its AAA-level production values. But fans didn't care. It was an indie in spirit and one of the most beautiful experiences of the year. And while Kena let us wield magic, the next winner shrunk us down to a whole new perspective, putting players in the paws of a stray cat exploring a cyberpunk city. 2022, Stray. In 2022, the internet collectively melted over Stray, the game that let players live out their ultimate feline fantasies. Developed by Blue 12 Studio and published by Annapurna Interactive, this indie hit dropped us into a stunning cyberpunk city, as a cat. From leaping across rooftops to solving puzzles and interacting with robots, the gameplay was as unique as it was charming. Beneath the cute exterior, Stray delivered emotional storytelling that tugged at the heartstrings, making every meow and purr count. Fans adored it, calling it a fresh, innovative indie experience, though some critics argued it was a little overhyped. Either way, it proved that indie games could turn even the simplest premise into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. And while Stray had us prowling the streets, the next winner aimed even higher, literally reaching for the stars in a beautiful tribute to classic JRPGs. 2023 Sea of Stars. 2023 brought a love letter to classic JRPGs with a modern twist, Sea of Stars by Sabotage Studio. With gorgeous pixel art, turn-based combat, and a story that serves as a prequel to The Messenger, this indie RPG captured both nostalgia and innovation. Players praised its beautiful visuals, strategic combat, and heartfelt story, though some couldn't help but compare it to Chrono Trigger, measuring it against one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. Regardless, it cemented its place as a standout indie, showing that even beloved retro formulas could be reinvented for a modern audience. And while Sea of Stars reached for the stars, the most recent winner broke the mold entirely, delivering an indie experience unlike anything we'd ever seen before. 2024 Balatro. Finally, in 2024, indie gaming proved that one person can still shake the entire industry. Balatro, developed by Local Thunk, transformed poker into an addictive roguelike phenomenon. With procedurally generated decks, strategic twists, and endless replayability, this sleeper hit took the world by storm. It wasn't just a game, it was a masterclass in innovation from a single developer, showing that creativity and vision can outweigh budget or team size. Balatro reminded us that indie games continue to push boundaries in ways big studios often can't. Indie gaming started with a shovel-swinging knight, scaled emotional mountains, explored cyberpunk cities, and ended with deck-building madness. And as always, the question remains, what incredible indie adventure will claim the spotlight next? From pixel knights to deck-building madness, these winners show just how much indie games continue to surprise, innovate, and captivate us year after year. Each one proved that you don't need a massive budget to create something unforgettable, only creativity, passion, and a bold vision. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these best indie game winners is your all-time favorite? And which indie do you think could take the crown next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you enjoyed the journey, and don't forget to subscribe for more gaming countdowns that celebrate the best in the industry.